I've been sharing my annual goals and mid year progress on the podcast since 2022, and I'm always amazed at how fast time seems to go. Here we are at the halfway point of yet another year, and if you haven't learned by now, time is going to do what it always does, which is keep moving. We have to make each day count, not just for our goals, but for our own well being as well. And at the end of 2025, I shared my personal and business goals for 2026. And since here we are at the halfway point of 2026, I want to do a quick mid year goal check in with you. And as I've shared before, this helps me stay on top of what I set out to accomplish in the year and holds me accountable because I'm sharing it with you. So hopefully, this episode encourages you to do your own mid year goals check in as well. So, before we dive in, if you want to hear the episode from the end of last year where I actually shared my 2026 goals, I will link to it in the show notes. It's episode 209. Okay, let's get into the progress towards my personal and business goals for 2026. I'm going to follow the same format from when I shared the original goals. So, first personal, then business. All right. So, personal goal number one for me for 2026 was to improve my health for long term functioning. So, that includes mobility, stretching, reducing inflammation, pushing my heart rate, and continuing with my gluten free, dairy free diet. So, this goal is a little bit harder to measure because it's not like a set number or a set marker. But I am really proud to share that this specific goal is always at the forefront of my daily decisions. And I feel like that alone is progress. So I'd say I'm about 85% consistent with gluten free and dairy free. It's usually dairy that creeps in for me. And I want to add that I don't have celiac disease. This isn't an allergy. This is something that is just, after working with a naturopathic doctor, better for my gut and just my health overall. So I'm about 85% consistent with it. But I have also been a lot better about increasing my protein intake and reducing my fat intake. So last year, I kind of did some low carb days, and that was effective. Like, my body really responds well to like the keto diet or low carbs, but my nervous system does not. So I need to find a diet that makes me feel and look my best, not just from a weight perspective. So currently, I'm working on like a split macro diet. So my current macro goals are 30% carbs, 30% fat, and 40% protein. And I'm, working to being consistent with this. Another kind of way that I'm measuring this goal is I hit 10 to 12,000 steps most weekdays, and I've even started walking on the weekends. Weekends are more like 6 to 8,000 steps, but last year I completely took the weekends off, so I feel like this is an improvement. And I want to just add here that I work out 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, I actually do like a 30 to 60-minute workout every weekday. Walking is more of a nervous system regulation activity. It's very calming. It's very peaceful for me. And of course, there are some health benefits to getting extra steps. But I want to just throw that in there that when I walk, it's not specifically for weight loss purposes. And then finally, my final note on this goal, I started the year off stretching more consistently. So I always, do a light stretch before and after my workout. But this year I really wanted to focus on maybe 10 to 15 minutes a day of stretching outside of like my workout. I will admit I fell off the last couple of months. I still do it. I still stretch outside of my workouts, but not as much as I want to or need to, or would feel like I achieve this goal if I did. So this is my reminder, and this is my recommitment to refocus on this for the second half of the year. Okay, My next personal goal for 2026, max out my Roth IRA, which for 2026 is $7,500. As of this recording, I'm about a third of the way to the goal. So I guess that technically could be looked at as being off track, but I know that I'm going to hit this goal by the end of the year. I'm not really worried about it. This is, my primary means of retirement savings. So even if it means I got to cut some stuff back for the second half of the year, I'm going to achieve it. But again, I'm not really worried. Personal goal number 3, complete planning for my 3-week European honeymoon plus courthouse elopement. So, unfortunately, our timeline for the courthouse wedding and the honeymoon has been pushed out. Between the rising costs of everything here in the US, the war in Iran, and some just personal things that my fiance needs to take care of, this goal likely will not be achieved by the end of this year. I'm hoping that we're only pushing this goal out by a year. So instead of, getting married in March of 2026 and, taking our honeymoon in mid-year 2026, hopefully everything gets pushed out to 2027, just kind of same time frame. I have already mapped out like where I want to go on the honeymoon. That's the fun part for me, just travel planning. But nothing has really changed since I mentioned this goal at the end of 2025. Next personal goal, reduce screen time. So I used to average about 3 to 4 hours a day of screen time on my phone. And my goal for this year was to get it down by an hour per day on average. And I'm definitely down. I'm proud to share. I'm trending about 3 hours a day with slight fluctuations up and down. So this is a goal I would consider being on target. I am very mindful when I am on my phone too much. And I feel like I do a good job of stopping myself, right? Like if I catch myself in like just random scrolling, I'm like, hold on, Rhea, what are you doing? Let's get off the phone. And there are, on the flip side, a couple of times where sometimes I say, oh, I don't care. And that's just me being honest with you. I have those moments too where it's like I still want to keep mindlessly scrolling. I'll get off later. But regardless, I give myself grace in those situations and, eventually get to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to put my phone away. I have not had any social media free weekends yet this year. This was something I did, in the last quarter of last year, and I really liked it. But I will say that I am good about only getting 1 to 2 hours of screen time on the weekends. So at least I have reduced how much I'm looking at my phone on the weekends, which is much better than during the week. Okay, my final personal goal for 2026, prioritize slowing down more and reducing cortisol. So, what does this look like for me for this goal? This looks like listening to my body when I need rest, prioritizing 7 or more hours of sleep every night, and to not be so hard on myself if I don't hit my step or workout goals during the week or weekends. And then also just making de-stressing a constant focus. So, constantly, like, if I'm in a stressful situation, like pausing and breathing and reminding myself I'm safe, I'm good. That's kind of what I mean with this specific goal. Now, this is definitely still a high focus for me for the rest of this year, similar to like my long-term health goals. I make sure that I go to bed at a decent time, and I usually get 7 hours of sleep. If I trend lower, I'll make sure to sleep in on the weekends. Actually, not too long ago, on a Friday night, I slept 12 hours, and it was so good. It was so amazing. It's crazy how much sleep makes you really feel good. I will say I'm still a work in progress when it comes to listening to when my body needs rest. We didn't travel for the first 6 months of this year, just about 6 months. And that meant I didn't break my 5-day per week workouts. So just to give you a little bit of background, we meaning my fiance and I, typically travel every 3 months. Sometimes it's shorter, doesn't usually exceed 4 months. So whenever I travel, I don't work out And if I do, it's, if I feel like it, but it's not something I force myself to do. It's like my break, if you will. So, since we didn't travel for nearly 6 months this year, I didn't get that break. So, I was pushing my body like I typically would when I'm not on vacation. And by month 5, I pulled a muscle in my back and I was forced to take 4 days off. I couldn't even walk one of those days. So, I concluded two things from that experience. First, I need to travel at least every 4 months. Like that just has to happen for my well-being. And second, I need to make sure recovery is a part of my routine. I'm getting older, my body can't do what it did in its early 20s, and I just have to come to terms with that and be okay with, taking breaks. So, actively working on that. And finally, as far as de-stressing goes, I have come to realize that I manage a lot. And if I'm being honest, I don't really have plans of removing things off my plate. Like, I'm just being real here. I run a business. I manage rentals, which come with tenants. I manage an out of state Airbnb. I have 2 dogs. I have an uncle that my brother and I take care of. And I do prioritize my close relationships. And it's a lot. And I constantly have to tell myself, or I don't have to, I constantly remind myself that I am blessed to be in a position to manage it all and that not everything is a fire. Like, I think it's just my type A Virgo personality, but I want to solve everything right now. Like, if something's wrong, let me fix it. And that's more so to like make sure I don't have to worry about it. But I'm reminding myself not everything needs to be fixed right in the moment. Some things can sit and relax, and I don't have to immediately act upon everything. And shifting that perspective has helped a lot for me. I watched the CEO Club on Amazon Prime, and it follows like a couple of women CEOs, and Serena Williams was on there. And she said, pressure is a privilege. And I really felt that. So that's my progress on my personal goals for 2026. Let's transition to progress on business goals for 2026 and specifically City Girl Savings as the business. So, first goal for 2026 is to increase revenue by 20% and increase profit margin by 5%. At the time of this recording, we're actually down 5% in revenue compared to this time last year. So, already kind of not on track with this goal. But considering the state of the economy, I'm actually not too disappointed by this. We're targeting to end the year with the same revenue as last year, so that's a win in my eyes. Let's be real here. Costs are rising. People aren't investing in extras like coaching. People are losing their jobs, and people are just unsure of how things will go. I mean, myself included. So if City Girl Savings can break even in this type of environment, that is a huge win to me. And kind of on another positive note with this goal, our expenses are down 15% this year compared to this time last year. So that means our profit margin is up slightly. The decrease in revenue obviously drops that, but we are getting better and better about keeping more in the business. And honestly, that's almost more important than making it, right? It's not about what you make, it's what you keep. Second goal, business goal for 2026, increase newsletter subscribers by 20% net. So right now we're averaging about 4% net growth. So definitely trending under this goal. We do have the summer savings challenge coming, and that usually ends up being a huge email list growth mechanism for us. So hoping that we can really increase that net average growth significantly. And then I do want to add that we also updated our Facebook ads. So we do about 300 a month in Facebook ads to be more specific to our target audience. So we've updated our ads to really hone in on who we're trying to speak to. And that has resulted in less email newsletter signups, but more quality signups. So again, it's like a shift in perspective on what really matters. And then the next goal for 2026 is to have 35,000 to 40,000 podcast episode downloads in the year. Now, you may or may not remember, we took Q1 of this year off of new podcast episodes. And as you can imagine, that resulted in a major drop in downloads. To be expected, I knew what was coming. That's okay. For Q1 of 2026, we only had 4,100 downloads. Again, that was to be expected, but I haven't taken a break with the podcast since we launched it officially. So I really didn't know what it would look like. And just for context, we had 8,600 downloads in Q4 of 2025. So that's over a 50% decrease. Okay. I don't regret it. I needed the break. It was okay. But shifting to the positive, when new episodes started releasing in April, downloads spiked. April and May together had 6,000 downloads, which means that we're on track to do better than Q4 of 2025. So the way we're trending, I think we should hit right around 35,000 episode downloads or slightly under. And if you're listening right now, you are helping us achieve this goal. Okay, final business goal for 2026, stronger focus on YouTube, the City Girl Savings blog, and Pinterest. So this is another goal that is a little bit harder to measure. From an effort perspective, a lot has gone into making sure that we have consistent YouTube videos every week, that we have effective pins going out on Pinterest, and that we have high quality SEO content for the City Girl Savings blog. From a results and analytics perspective, it's not looking like we're improving much from 2025. However, I think that may come with time, so I'm not getting too focused on the numbers. You don't always see the fruits of your efforts immediately with this kind of stuff. So I'm staying hopeful and staying consistent. And as I've shared before, we're really making sure that the content we publish is relevant to what the City Girl Savings community, and even to those who don't know about the City Girl Savings community yet, are looking for. We want to be the go-to for personal finance, goal setting and mindset, and life and personal growth content. So that pretty much wraps up the progress of 2026 business and personal goals at the mid-year mark. Some of the goals are on track, others are trending behind, and others are being measured by the consistency of efforts above the results. So I will still keep trying to keep 2026 as a year where I prioritize, my health and life just as much as I prioritize work and income. And while that is a constant work in progress for me, I would consider myself succeeding at it. So I'm proud of that. Here's to finishing out the second half of 2026 with great progress. Wishing you all the best.